Welcome to the podcast. It is almost a new year. So, why wouldn't we end the year with a bang here at Mastering Social Media for Schools podcast? I've got just a plethora of information, experience, all of the things with Michelle Shue today. She's from Rowan-Salisbury School System and out of North Carolina. And they actually won a gold medallion for their Kinder Ready campaign. And we've got resources in the show notes. You're going to want to check those out. But Michelle's going to share her journey from teacher into her role in marketing and communications, kind of why that's made sense. She does have a seat at the table with their cabinet, and she was challenged with getting their kindergarten kids ready for kindergarten. So she's going to talk about not really knowing where to start, using ChatGPT, some of the things that they created, how they got started, the process of even submitting for an NSPRA Gold Medallion, and then share the results as well. I think you're going to love this interview with Michelle. You're going to want to check out their pages on what they're sharing in social media. And let's get to it, right? Just before we get to this week's K-12 PR tip, I've got a fairly new offering that I offer up for free for my paid membership group, but we've had a lot of value in some one-on-one consultation. So sometimes you are at a roadblock with Meta Business Portfolio. You're not exactly sure how to roll out social media within your district with some of your social media ambassadors at each school. There just may be some things that you're struggling with that you need some one-on-one time with. Now you can do it. You can actually book one-on-one time with me. It's just $200 for an hour, and we can have as many people from your team. It's very interactive, very take action oriented. So you can head on over to my website. I've got a link in the show notes that if you need some time to just discuss whatever issue. Maybe you're dealing with someone in the community that won't stop commenting about something, or gosh, I really want to roll out Instagram, but I'm not even sure where to start. I've been doing this almost 12 years. I've got a lot of experience and I want to share it with you. So take advantage of that in the new year if you need it, because I would love to help you. Now let's get to this week's K-12 PR tip. All right, today's K-12 PR tip is about Instagram login. There's some changes being made in Instagram that is kind of forcing you to connect your personal account with your school account. And I'm not crazy about this, but I'm going to tell you that if you don't allow it to have access to your personal page, you are not going to be able to post something on Instagram and have it automatically post to your Facebook school page, like an Instagram reel or like a story. And so this is something that if that comes across with, how you're logging in with your account center and you're uncomfortable with it, I am too, because actually when I looked in there, it looked like I could change the password of the person that was logged in with it. So I don't love it at all. I'm hoping that Meta completely changes it. But that is something to keep an eye on. If you have, this isn't a concern if you are the only one who logs in to your Instagram account through Instagram itself. Through your school district. If you're the only one that's on there, then it doesn't probably matter because nobody else is going to see it. But if anybody else is using that Instagram page, like I have student interns that do that, once I enable this, I have not gotten this alert yet, but once I enable this, they would be able to look at and possibly have access to things like my password and changing that. Just want to give you a heads up that is legit, that it's coming down the pipeline. It says that it's for sure doing it by January of 2026, which is just a few days away. So again, if you want to be able to post to both, now this doesn't impact Meta Business Suite. So if you're posting through Meta Business Suite to go to both Instagram and Facebook, that should be fine. But I'm talking about posting from Instagram because sometimes I do stories on Instagram and I want to put those stories on Facebook as well. I'm going to have to enable this so that it can log into my personal account as well. There you go. Good news to start us off. But hey, let's get to this interview with Michelle. She's awesome, and let's get started. Welcome to the podcast, Michelle Shue. How are you?
I am doing great.
That is awesome. Great to have you here. I'm really excited to learn from you today. So why don't you share your background and your role as Director of Marketing and Communications there at Rowan-Salisbury School System?
Yeah, we're from the South. It's Rowan-Salisbury.
Okay,
Yeah. So
sorry.
that you gotta have that country accent on it. So I started teaching. I came from the classroom. I started teaching in 1999 here in the Rowan-Salisbury school system. And I spent 14 years here, went to another district for about 10 years, and then came back here. So I was actually a high school English teacher for 23 years. And then, lived through COVID with kids in the classroom and um, just knew that it was going to take a while for that shift to happen again, where classrooms felt normal to me.
Mhm.
And I didn't know that I could stay in it much longer. My own children were becoming teenagers in high school, and I love teenagers and I wanted to continue to love teenagers. And so I was like, I probably need to leave the classroom before I hit that wall. Um, so I began looking at what else is out there and thought, what do my skills set prepare me for? Obviously, communications. But I had taught yearbook and newspaper and done all of the design aspects and photography. And I thought, public relations, marketing felt like it was something that I could be confident moving into. And long story short, found out that my old district had a position coming up, or an opening coming up for the director of marketing and communications, and they were actually rewriting the role from just public information officer to marketing and communications. And so I called my old friend who was now superintendent and said, hey, how would I stand up against somebody who has a degree in marketing? Because I'm a teacher. And she said, I would rather have somebody who understands education, and then you can learn the rest. So that is my skill set. Is I really know schools, I know kids, I know education, and I know the challenges that we face in classrooms. And I think that has made me very successful and given me the space to learn the marketing aspects of my job, so that everything else was pretty easy. So in my role, you had asked about that. I am the head of our department in our district. I have a team of four, which includes the receptionist at the front desk of our district offices, who is amazing and does a lot of actual communication stuff with us. And I have a district social media manager
Mhm.
and a photographer. So she is a photographer and digital, uh, what is it? Graphics design major. So
Okay.
that is her skill set. And then I have a new team member who is a marketing major. And so I feel like um, I have been able to hire them since I was here. And they are able to fill in some of those holes and those gaps of where I maybe don't have the background. So I lead those ladies and all of our efforts. And I know a topic often is the public informations person having a seat at the table with the superintendent and the planning. And so I am lucky enough, I do sit in on those top level meetings and get to hear the logistics and the rationale and things like that, and be part of that decision making from the very beginning.
Yeah. So how long have you had this role?
Oh gosh, next month it'll be 3 years.
Just 3 years. And did you add both the social media photographer, graphic design person and the marketing person since you
Yeah.
started?
Yeah, so I did have those positions, like there
Oh,
were
okay.
there were people in jobs when I got
Okay.
here. One of them was doing social media, but that wasn't, she was a journalist
Okay.
originally, and so that's not necessarily her where her strength was. And then the other person was somebody who'd been in the district for a long, long time, but was not being used in the right way. So
Okay.
she went else, both of them actually left, and I was able to rewrite the role and hire for it. So I could look at my own strengths and what we needed and what the superintendent was asking us to do. And the superintendent even said to a news reporter here in our area, um, when we were talking about something, she said, "There's a reason marketing is at the beginning of her title." So, that's an important aspect of it for her. She's very concerned about making sure that we are selling our schools and public schools.
Yeah. And I think it's really important because a lot of people come from one realm or the other,
Mhm.
journalism in that way, or from the classroom. And when you think about it, really understanding how schools work is so beneficial because it is
Yeah.
so foreign for someone who might know marketing and even like communications, but that's very different in a school setting, don't you think?
For sure. We are actually our next big campaign that we're starting is actually a CTE campaign, really an educational campaign of and we sat down with that executive director. I could say to her, okay, it looks like you really have three target audiences. You've got to, based on what she had said to me, you've got to educate your counselors who may not understand the CTE pathways, who may not understand how a college-bound student could benefit from taking CTE. You also have students and parents who need some education in what's available. But then her big ask was really informing our community, because there's always that comment that we don't teach kids these skills anymore. And then also from businesses in our community who she wanted to make sure they understood we were preparing kids for their jobs, that they were going to be able to walk out of our schools and be ready and prepared for what they're doing. And coming from that, I knew exactly. I've had the counseling type conversation with a kid who's thinking about registering for next year. I knew, the nuances of the pathways and what kids are thinking about and how to have that conversation. Well, what are you interested in, and what are your plans, and do you have a job now? And so that understanding of what is CTE and sometimes what are the misunderstandings about it really have made that effort like much faster, able to jump right into, okay, we need to do these things, and understanding while um, uh, informing the community may be the last thing we've got to do. We've got to also keep in mind registrations coming up. So organizing timelines is much easier when you know the rhythm of a school day,
Yeah,
school year.
definitely. Yeah. And how big is your school district? Like how many students?
We have over 18,000 students,
Okay.
about nearly 3,000 employees. And so that it comes out to about 32. Right now, we're building a new school. We closed a school in order to demolish and rebuild. So we're at 33 schools
Okay.
district. We have alternative learning in terms of a virtual school, an early college program, and an alternative program for students who have difficulties being in a regular setting or have some legal reasons for being needing a different setting. So we've got lots of variety and options here.
Okay. And, you kind of talked about this new CTE campaign. We're going to be
Mhm.
focusing on another campaign that was an award-winning campaign. But before I get to that, just want to understand how, this is the Mastering Social Media for Schools podcast. So,
Yeah.
how social media fits into your role. It sounds like you've got somebody that's kind of in charge of that. And then how you kind of set up social media for a district your size.
My age means that I like to uh, to take in social media, but I'm not great at understanding all of the nuances of it and things like that. And my social media manager is much, much younger than I am. And so for her, she's more of a native to social
Hmm.
media and what people are looking at and what's popular and things like that. So really lucky that I don't have to think about social media other than it as a tool and what can we use it to do in terms of our bigger picture. So the daily posts, the creating the content, things like that is strictly left to Emily, who is my social media manager. She comes up with fantastic ideas for, she last year ran a mindful minute where she talked to different people about just advice for students and things like that. And she went around and did a feature on employees once a week. And so she has fantastic ideas. She stays up with trends. She's really gotten into, even though she's originally a photographer, she's gotten a lot of video work done over the last year and has become really, really good at that. Um, so mine is just really setting the vision
Yeah.
for what do we want it to be, um, and making sure that what we show there is going to not only, inform people about what's going on in our schools, but really build some social capital in the community to show them that we are doing great things. And it's always about shiny, happy faces and kids, being kids and learning something and being challenged.
Yeah. And what channels do you run? I'm assuming Facebook and Instagram. Is that right?
Yeah, that's it, really. When I
Okay.
first got here, we had Twitter. And what we were seeing is we just didn't have a lot of engagement on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And because Meta allows you to go out to Facebook and Instagram at the same time, and Twitter did not, you had to do it separately. The person who worked here earlier, before Emily came in, was like, "Can I put a pause on that?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." Excuse me. And we just never picked it back up.
Okay. Yeah. And that's really what we've done. So I love that. I mean, focus on the big two.
Yeah.
And then with your schools, I'm assuming do some of your schools have their own social media channels and they run that on their own?
Yeah, so all of our schools actually have Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
I don't know that anybody's doing Twitter anymore either. And we've just completed sit down meetings with all of our schools. It took us 2 months to work all that out. But we finished sitting down. My team and I went out to every school and met with everybody that was posting on social media or responsible for their communications tools that we just adopted. So we were kind of going through some of that. We also moved over or converted our website to a new company. And so all the things are very new. And so we were like, hey, we want to talk to you about what these tools are. So our website and social media really are becoming marketing tools, and a lot of them don't know what that looks like. And then our communications tool is really the pathway straight to our families. So all of them do have them. We also have access to all of those as people come and go. We are able to maintain administrative rights and put in the new person and so on. So and we try to give them guidelines of what kinds of things to post. We've taken a lot of your information about ideas for the themes, as you go through the week, just to help them make it easier because as a former classroom teacher, you are too busy to think about those things. As a principal, um, it's the least important thing that they deal with every day, and we don't want it to become a burden for them. So we really tried to send that message that it's about a moment, right? It's
Mhm.
like you see the kid in the hallway picking up the piece of trash. Hey, catches attention, take the picture, or ask him to do it again so you can take the picture. But we have a school whose motto is we care about ourselves, or we value ourselves, each other, and this place. And I told her, I was like, that picture of a kid picking up the trash is a perfect example of caring about your space and that place. So we've tried to emphasize that sometimes it's just about one photo and one moment, and that can help tell your story. And so hopefully we'll see, and we've already seen with some of the schools that we met with early on, we've seen some improvement in what how often they're posting and what kinds
Yeah.
of things they're posting. And just the video of the kids walking down the hall and showing parents what's happening in schools every day.
Yeah, it's powerful. I just have to ask because I know my listeners will be wondering. So, what website platform are you using? And then you also said like there's a communication platform. So, can you share that?
Yes, so we did all of the bidding and things like that, and we selected Parent Square as our website.
Yep.
We were a pilot for Infinite Campus last year in our state. The whole state adopted it, but they asked some people to pilot it. So we piloted that and realized we did not like that communications piece inside Infinite Campus. And so we just went all in and went with Parent Square for the communications as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
Um, Both very, very happy. The conversion process and the redesign of the website was much more painful than I anticipated, and don't want to have to ever do that again, even though I know I will have to. But that was tough. The conversion over to um, the communications piece, we've had fantastic feedback from parents, from administrators, and from teachers about how much they've loved it and really feel like it's going well. So,
Okay. Yeah. I'm friends of theirs, and I know there's a lot of people that have been happy with that.
yeah.
So that's
Oh,
that's
yeah.
awesome. So I wanted to have you on because you actually received a gold medallion from NSPRA, which is like
Yeah.
a Grammy. Oh, there it is in the background.
Like,
If you're watching online, that's good. Some days you should just like get it out and put it on, man.
I
Um,
know. I feel like a queen with that thing.
Yeah. So it was a Kinder Ready campaign. So can you just explain what a gold medallion from NSPRA means and what you had to do to submit it to be considered?
Yeah, so it's just an award for work. Sometimes your categories are photography or campaigns or marketing materials or an event in some of the areas. So they've got three different um, award areas. And you can enter an entire campaign into the Gold Medallion, which is the top award. But you can also be considered for the second level of awards. And I'm sorry, but I've forgotten what that one's called
Yeah.
at this point. But so we just said we're going to try. We at the state level, we've found some success with entering in some things as a former yearbook advisor. I always entered in my kids' work. We always sent our yearbook into our state organization and to national organizations because the feedback is phenomenal and really, helped us develop year after year. And while NSPRA doesn't really provide feedback on your work, the recognition certainly is worthy of the hard work that we've put into it. So this year, and winners are based on the quality of the work, not necessarily they're going to give a certain number every year. So this year, 76 applications were sent in or projects were sent in for consideration, and 13 were chosen. So we were one of the lucky 13.
Awesome. And how much time did it take to submit all of what you need to submit for that award? I'm assuming quite a bit.
Well, Um, I'm not going to be the norm because, again, as a former English teacher, I really understand rubrics and I thrive under a deadline, and I'm a huge procrastinator. So, like, I watched the videos of past winners who said, oh, you need to spend a month or have all this time or whatever. But every big thing I'm a national board certified teacher, and I did it in a really absurdly short amount of time. We worked on this for 2 days. So
Good. I,
we worked on the application part, but
for 2 days.
we looked at the rubric, and I know how to read a rubric and know what they were looking for, and that's what we presented. We presented exactly the elements that they asked us to.
Okay. So what was the goal of your Kinder Ready campaign and kind of how did that all get started?
Well, it's interesting because, again, I'm not a marketing major. I don't know how to run a campaign. So our superintendent, when I first arrived, said, we're going to rewrite the strategic plan. And I said, okay, I can write. And so we had all these meetings and we had these committees and we had all the things, and I'm developing pieces and I'm developing and honing the language and what they sound, all the pieces of it. And then I create a beautiful visual and all of this stuff. And she starts presenting it to the community. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I think I have to do that. And she said, yeah, that's you. This whole action step or in the priority is you. So we have 5 priorities, and one of them is, like most districts, building academic excellence. And one of the goals within that, or the actions that we were going to take within that, was to create a robust kindergarten readiness campaign to ensure that students coming to, or not ensure, but to prepare students coming to us in kindergarten that they are ready for the learning. Because even in kindergarten now, there are standards that need to be met and all of that. There wasn't, I don't think, whenever I got there, or at least they were pretty easy to meet. And we recognized, like, people don't know what kindergartners need to know, because our pre-screener results were showing that only 16% of our kindergartners were actually ready to do the things that we were doing and teaching them in kindergarten. And my superintendent is huge on data, and she said that metric is going to be the judge of whether or not we have done a successful campaign. So sometimes campaigns are successful because these certain things happen. Mine is strictly, is the campaign successful, not necessarily the effort. But I think the effort ended up being pretty meaningful too. So I didn't know what I was doing. And I literally started by going to ChatGPT and saying, I went and looked at it again today to see, how did I start? It literally says, write a kindergarten readiness campaign. And of course, it comes up with nothing good, because you don't get good things when you don't give good prompts. And so, and I wasn't really I hadn't used ChatGPT or AI yet very much. And so I was like, okay, I don't think this is where I'm going. But again, as a teacher, I had that understanding of metrics of education and skills and things like that. So I started asking better questions. Let's see, I wrote down a couple. So after that, I said, well, what skills do preschoolers need to know before they come to kindergarten? And so it started giving me lists of skills. And I said, okay, now take this information about the skills and create a timeline for implementation starting on August 15th. And so it started breaking it down. Do this the first week and do this. And I was like, well, hey, this looks like a campaign. And I took it to my superintendent. I was like, hey, I have a timeline of how we're going to implement this. And she's like, great. And then I sat there for a month and I thought, oh God, I don't really know. I don't know how to do this. And doing this part seemed too big. And so our first step was actually social media. And that was something we felt like was comfortable to us, and a place where we could start, because we know parents are out there on social media. And unfortunately, but in this case, good for us, they get their information from there. That's their first place of seeking knowledge. And so we eventually got to the point where we said, okay, we're going to start creating some pieces for social media. But as we got more and more into it, we realized we didn't know all the things that were going to change the numbers, because we met with kindergarten teachers, we met with principals, we had a whole champion team to talk about, this is what we want to do. What do you think kids need to know? And it was a lot of things like opening their own carton of milk and tying their own shoes and knowing how to, things that kindergarten teachers want them to be able to do, but that they don't get tested on that. That doesn't change my number. And I went back to the superintendent and I was like, hey, this is what they told us they wanted. She said, is it on the test? And I said, no. She said, then it's not in your campaign. So I was like, oh, okay. So again, she's trying to change based on those standards. So I said, well, how we can't know what to teach the parents until we see the test. And so we went and we got it's not actually a test, it's a pre-screener, but I keep saying test.
Yep.
So I went and got the pre-screener and we started looking at it and say, okay, well, there's an area on gross motor skills and fine motor skills. There's an area on language. There's an area on social skills that is not really obvious that it's social skills. And we also saw that there was one little box on each page or each section of the test that was exactly the same. And it was, can they sit still? Do they need the directions repeated to them? Are they anxious without their parents? Are they crying? So the social skills of of interacting with adults. And I said to my team, I said, okay, if we're grading or providing some sort of numbers on this test and the kid is crying, we're counting them down 4 times for that. Right? Like that
Mhm.
seems really unfair. So we knew the social skills part really had to be part of it, and them being able to talk to strangers and be separated from their parents for maybe the first time in a strange place they've never been in to come and take this pre-screener. So we decided, even though it doesn't look like it's a skill that is tested, it literally is given a score. So we said, okay, we gotta, this is where we're going to get our pieces from. And so we took skills, like there's you get points for being able to put your fingertips together like this. So we said, teach your children how to put their fingertips. There's one on the question where they're asked to skip. And I think you had asked earlier about some challenges through the project. That
Yeah.
was our biggest challenge, was how do we write down how to teach somebody how to skip? And we went back to ChatGPT and got a description. I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And we went out in the hallway here at our offices, and my team and I just started skipping. And I said, okay, now tell me how you did that. How did describe what you did? And we got other people in the office like, Skip, now tell us how you did it. And so we came up with an actual short phrase that parents can say to teach their child how to skip. So that was, that was the plan, was we just started creating posts for social media that focused on some of these skills. And there was a plan of, we want to have this happen. We want to have some podcasts or lessons, but they just turned into some videos because that felt more manageable to us. So we had a plan that ChatGPT helped us develop. Um, but we knew we only had certain capacity with what we were able to do. And so we sort of developed more depth as we went. We went for about 2.5 months in our first round, and just hit skills in each of our areas. We had like 6 areas we were covering. And then we kind of took a breath in a moment and came back after the Christmas break and said, okay, let's do it again and do the rest of the skills. And we won't repeat, but we'll do some new skills. And then that turned into other pieces, a kindergarten readiness booklet that we printed and we took out to our doctor's offices and to the grocery stores and to schools and to other places we thought preschoolers might be, toddlers might be, or their parents, so that they would have something to take home. And we went back to ChatGPT and said, okay, how do we describe how to do these skills? And now put it in a phrase that a parent can say to their toddler. Okay, make this simpler, because it was still in that educational language, right? Like,
Mhm.
make this much more simple. In a language for a fourth grader, right? And
Mhm.
so we came up with some powerful phrases that parents could reinforce learning or reinforce skills. And we put those in the booklet. And so it is 100% I'm pulling this out and I'm going to read this about how, what do I say to reinforce cutting with scissors? What do I say to reinforce throwing and catching a ball? Or for understanding number relationships, things like that. So it developed into that, and we've developed some videos and so on. We've got other goals, but that's kind of how it sort of unraveled into really a big campaign that now is on its third year. And each year we just keep adding another layer to it. We've done different gatherings for the area, different areas in our county for toddlers to come and just be around each other and interact with each other, and staff to engage with the parents and pass out our materials and talk to them about other ways that they can engage their kids and get them ready.
Yeah. Okay, so Michelle, I love this because obviously utilizing AI tools like this, and
Yeah,
I really love your authenticity of just being like, and vulnerability, be like, I didn't know what I was doing. I
right.
typed in something on ChatGPT and then you kept refining it. And then
Yeah,
it's a great thought partner, and it can
Mm.
save so much time. And the first draft isn't going to be perfect, and you're going to have to keep kind of
Yeah.
revising and reiterating. My question for you is this, Michelle, do you have any of that Kinder Ready campaign like available on your website? Like if listeners wanted to see, okay, what does it really entail? Is there a spot that we can direct them to?
There are actually two. So yes, we do
Okay.
on our website, and we are rssed.org. On our website, you can go to students and families, and then there's an area for early learning pre-K.
Okay.
And then you can get to our kindergarten readiness, Start Strong Kinder Ready. I think there's a separate tab. And so a lot of our materials there, but it's also a place where we have tried to start curating educational tools and links and things like that. So like PBS Kids, we've put in, oh, you can learn some social emotional skills. Here are some good videos from PBS Kids, and they can just link straight to it. So it's a one-stop shop where they don't have to go out and find good stuff for kids to use and play and learn from. So it's kind of our secondary teaching tool. If you want to see exactly how we did the campaign or see some of our samples, you can go to the NSPRA website and look at the Gold Medallion winners for this past year. And there is a PDF document of our entry, which includes live links. So it'll take you to where you could see all, I think we had like 54 posts that we created for social media to teach the different skills. Our kindergarten readiness booklet is in there, and it'll show, like, I've got it here. So um, you'll be able to see all the pages and all the little phrases and stuff. And I encourage everybody to steal everything that we did because, as a good teacher, you always reuse, right? I just call it stealing. Other people have great words, but and I presented at NSPRA at a round table and told them, please go and do this because the new person to the game. I went to NSPRA in St. Louis a couple years ago, and she had just told me, okay, you got to do this kindergarten readiness campaign. And I saw a couple presentations that were going to deal with kindergarten. I was like, perfect. And there was a roundtable that said kindergarten readiness. I said, oh, I'm just going to go and I'm going to get this lady's stuff and take it back home, and I'm going to just do that because I don't know what I'm doing. And I went, and it was about vaccination and making sure that like they were ready in terms of medical stuff,
Oh,
which is
okay.
important, but not at all what I was looking for. So I had to figure it all out, and it was hard, and it's a lot of work. And it doesn't matter if you are here in North Carolina or if you are in, Arizona or Washington State or wherever. Kids are kids, and teaching is teaching, and good stuff is good stuff. And so I just want to save everybody else some time. Use what you like, don't use what you don't like, learn from our mistakes. You don't have to figure out how to tell people how to skip. We wrote it up for you. So
I love
we
it.
are happy to let everybody see it and use it.
Well,
And again, those links will link you to some of our Facebook and stuff too.
okay, so I'll get the links in the show notes
Yes.
directly to those two spots, so that will be perfect. And I want to ask what the results were, but before I even ask that, just when you're describing like this hub of resources and going out into the community, encouraging kids, like within all of this, you're not only making sure kids are ready, you're building a relationship with these families. You're becoming such a trusted source of, hey, they know what to do with kids. So you're developing that before they even step foot in the building, right?
Yeah, and that's important. That's the a benefit of certainly wasn't our goal, and we actually have a fantastic organization in Rowan County called AppSeed, and they have created a device called a seedling that does not require internet, but they can access all kinds of educational tools and videos and games and things like that, and they actually give them away to people in our community and all over the state. And so they focus on or target, whatever word you want to use, lower income groups. So they are out in part of our area with part of our potential future students. So we decided we really want to target that middle class, stay-at-home mom, the grandma who's taking care of the kids, the ones who are maybe going to a daycare, but it's not necessarily a preschool. So we really said these are our people, and this
Mhm.
is where we're gonna grow them. So because it's the grandma and the stay-at-home mom, like they are looking for community a lot of times, and so directing them to places and hosting things for them has been lots of fun. And again, it's building some of that value in our system, that not only do we know what we're doing with kids, we just want all kids to be successful. And we've got a lot of charter schools in our area, and a private school and a Catholic school, and we're not in competition with them. We want to educate all kids. If these kindergarten kids end up in other places, we are okay with that. We just want them to start off successful, because we know, and data tells us that if you start off with a gap, that gap stays there and widens in a lot of ways. If you don't close that gap early, it just gets worse and worse throughout the years. And so that's the point of the campaign, is uh, bring them in with fewer deficiencies or fewer gaps of knowledge, so that they're ready wherever we go. And it's good for people to see our shop owners. We've put them in businesses. We've included them in some of the little challenges that we did, asking them to talk to kids when they come in, and ask them to count, ask them to skip for you, or hop on one foot, or you point to your nose, those kinds of fun things. Just engage with kids again, so that they begin to talk to strangers and feel comfortable with that, because it is a stranger that you're dropping your kid off to on that first day of school.
Right. So what were the results then when you went to the testing or the kind of pre-screening?
Yeah. Yeah.
What were your results?
So from the first year when we started, our kids that had come in were at 16%. So 16% of the kids coming to us were ready. The following year, the number coming in was 22%. So it was a 5% increase, which in education is huge. Like an increase that much is huge. We're still not happy with it. Really, I mean, not even a quarter of our kids were ready yet. So I haven't actually found out the numbers this year. It takes
Okay.
a really long time for those numbers to get solidified, but I hope that there's a continued increase, because we were the only thing happening. So I know, like, nobody else was out there doing
Mhm.
things to add to this increase. Like, we know that our efforts were the direct impact of that. So that's pretty exciting. Other things, you know, again, for our strategic plan, we got to check off one of the boxes, right? That we had taken one step towards building academic excellence. We developed our own skills within my department, in terms not only of developing a marketing plan, but of sort of having that multi-channel approach of, you're going to start out on social media, but then it becomes a print campaign, and then it becomes some outreach opportunities and public events. My boss, this is another challenge, I guess, that I just couldn't do it. I couldn't get it done in these last 2 years, but her big ask, this is, I guess, when I'll get my gold star from her, is she, from the very beginning, said, we want people to be out everywhere and see. Rowan-Salisbury Schools is trying to teach kids stuff, like when they're in the grocery store and they're pushing the cart and they see that little placard piece of paper at the back of the cart. I want there to be something there, like RSS and Start Strong Kinder Ready, and maybe they have a little game that the kid can play. The piece of paper, she's like, I want to be on the shopping cart. We're not on the shopping cart yet. And we have
Okay.
other ideas, like we want to be inside we actually want to make the folder that the hospital gives out to the new moms, and with all the material in it. Because, that's the one thing you don't throw away. Like, you keep that baby folder
Yeah.
in the filing cabinet. And so we want our materials to be in there. And so there's other goals. So really seeing how lots of channels and platforms can really work well together. That has been a good effect of it. Um, Collaborating with local organizations. Like I said, we have AppSeed. We've worked with the public library. We have several branches throughout the county. And so we have a science center. We have a Lego place where it's all the bricks and they can go and do educational games and things like that. So we've worked with lots of community groups to
Yeah.
make this a successful campaign. And I think they have continued with some of their own focus on, hey, we need to, even though the school system's not asking us to do this, this is now a priority of ours. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, we'll get everybody to those resources and we'll also share your contact information. Just as we wrap up, what would you say is your best social media tip?
Um, I don't I don't know if it's a tip. I would say when my social media manager was hired, she asked me, she said, what is it that, what's your expectation, your goal for me? And I said, I want you to open a window into the classroom so that parents and the community can see what is happening every day. Because kids get in the car and parents ask, so what'd you do at school today? And they say nothing. And then that night they see their fifth grader dissecting a brain in their science class. And who does that in fifth grade, right? And like, what do you mean nothing happened at school today? This is amazing. So that's been our goal is to tell that story that for educators, a lot of times we're not real good at sort of tooting our own horn and things become normal to us that sitting in the cafeteria wearing a Dr. Seuss outfit, it's just every other year kind of thing. And so show those moments that you don't necessarily think are special, but a parent has no idea happens. What does lunch look like? What does walking down the hall in a high school setting look like? Because the media, regular media, would love for you to believe that our schools and our kids are dangerous, that they don't care about anything, that they're disrespectful. And that has, in 27 years, has never been my experience.
Right.
Kids are funny and they're
Hmm.
fun and they are the best of humanity all at one time. And they're super annoying too sometimes, but to show those moments that are important to send that message to your community that we're not in trouble. Kids are great.
Yeah.
I think my second thing would be never respond to a post. We don't do that ever, ever, unless it's really misinformation that we need to correct. But um, because we have changed that narrative of kids are fantastic and we want you to always see happy kids doing fun and important, engaging experiences, it has changed the comments on our post. When
Hmm.
I first got here, a lot of just people wanting to dog everything and complain about everything and, well, why do y'all have to do this? And back in my day, all that kind of stuff. And Emily is such an amazing photographer that you just can't say anything bad about her pictures. And she has such an ability to tell a story with her photos
Hmm.
that you get it and you have to appreciate it. And so she has all but eliminated negative comments, which I know sounds crazy, but truly has. And so every once in a while we'll get them, like when we close school, you're going to get those.
Yeah.
Or for instance, we bought 5 new electric buses. Well, then somebody's got to complain, right?
Right.
And you have because your job is to defend, right? And share all the great things about your district. You just want to get on there and you want to say, no, 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 that's not the case. And we care about this, we care about that. But it has been my experience that if you just sit and wait, your champions will come forward and they
Yeah.
are going to defend you and they're going to explain it and they're going to clarify. And I've been really surprised at the knowledge of some people coming up. I'm like, wow, you really do get it. You know what we're doing. Um, and that's hard to sit back and say nothing is
Hmm.
really, really hard when it's just grossly wrong or misunderstood, but it just never serves you. It
Yeah.
never serves you to jump into that fray. So,
Yeah, I like that advice. So we'll make sure to link up your district channels so they're going to be able to see
okay.
Emily's posts. What would be the best way to stay connected to you if somebody wanted to reach out?
Um, I never answer the phone and voicemail is terrible, but email is the
Okay.
best way. So emailing me, I'm really good at that. You know, like a good PR person, I always have my phone in my hand. So I see those come through. Unless they go to spam, that
Yeah, which was me, but that's
right.
okay. Well, we'll include your email address in
Okay.
the show notes. And so I want to thank you so much for hanging out and sharing so much with us.
I appreciate it.
You definitely found your calling
Yeah.
in this new role, and I love your team is really lucky to have you as the leader. So tell them great job as well from me, and everybody listening. Thanks. Check out the show notes, and guess what? We're back next week with episode 300. I cannot believe I've been doing this that long, almost 6 years. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But we're going to have a really special episode next week. So make sure you come back and join us. Thanks so much, Michelle. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
All right, guys, keep telling those stories. Bye bye.